Hi everybody, welcome to Tad Talk, another great show coming your way, this time from the UK. It's going to be a blast, lots of stuff to talk about with a DJ legend, that's for sure. My co-host today is sat in his house in London. Sam, how are you, mate?
Very good, Terry. Thank you very much. Excited about this today. Good friend of mine, and as you say, an absolute BBC Radio 1 legend, amongst many other things.
God, I remember, and I'm dating myself, so I'm going back to early mid-60s Radio 1. I mean, I think it was only Radio 1, Radio 2, and the Radio 4 that my granddad listened to, and that was it. There was none of the stuff that's out there. Definitely no internet. So, yeah, this is going to be a blast.
Who have we got, Terry?
I'm going to leave that to you, mate.
We have got the legend that is Mr. Mike Reed here with us on Tad Talk. Mike, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. How are you?
Hi, guys. It sounds good. I think we should stop there. The build-up was brilliant. Everything else will be a letdown.
I'm loving the hair, Mike. Is this a lockdown hair?
I've hacked it since lockdown, or locksdown as I call it, so many times. I had a few people on that I was joining the Ramones. Yesterday it was down on my shoulders. I mean, it just grows like wildfire. So I keep hacking it back, but it keeps growing again. But yeah, it's it's hilarious. I've had a variety of styles, and then because we've been in lockdown, you think, oh, I'll grow a beard and see what that looks like. I'll let my hair grow. Normally you can't do that, but during lockdown we've been able to, which has been great fun.
Yeah,
it's been nice not to care, hasn't it, Mike? Not to care what you look like because nobody else is looking.
That's right. I haven't been in long trousers since the 7th of March.
I thought you were going to say since year 3.
You know, one of my favourite social media posts over the last few months has been the one about 2 months ago when it said, we're 3 weeks away from knowing everybody's real hair colour.
Yeah, that's right. And then you start growing a beard, and you do what all blokes do, think, what does it look like? And then you look at the shape, and then you think, well, I'll shave this bit and see what this bit looks like. Then I'll shave this bit and see what it looks like with a moustache. And then I'll see what it looks like with just this bit. And I'm sure we all do it.
No, absolutely. Everybody a month into the beard looked like Wurzel Gummidge. Everybody looked the same.
Yeah, and then you hope beyond hope that when you come for the first time tomorrow, I've got to wear a suit to a meeting. You pray that you can still get into it. That's the big worry.
Oh, the lockdown layers, Mike. I call them the lockdown layers. I've put so many on. Started to lose them now, thankfully.
I tried to make sure, because obviously writing songs, doing radio, sitting writing books is a very sedentary existence. So I make sure that I try and do between 5 and 8K every day somehow. So I make sure I do that. Otherwise you find you're sitting, you're nibbling, you're eating. So I try and balance it out.
You've always stayed in good shape, Mike. It's been impressive. You've never really... In fact, you look exactly the same now, apart from the glasses, as you did back in the day, and the spiky hair. That's all. The Peter Noon look. It's really doing you well. But with Tad Talk, mate, what we do is we open up after the hellos and the ingratiations with 3 random questions. Are you up for that?
Yeah, you'll have to shout a bit because I can't hear you too well, but yeah, okay.
It's all right. Come in, Mother. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mother?
Yeah.
Right, are you ready? Question 1. What do you hate having in your mouth?
Anything dental. When you go to the dentist and they put stuff in your mouth and they're doing your tooth, they put all this wadding in and you think, I'm going to swallow it, I'm going to choke. And then they start fiddling around and then they ask you a question and you're going, and you're trying to say, I'd like to spit if possible without some of that pink stuff. That is horrible. So those things in your mouth that you know you can't swallow and you mustn't swallow, but so that little devil on your shoulder said, go on, swallow that cotton pad, Yeah, I think things like that. I mean, anything that doesn't belong there. I think something alien in your mouth is odd. I mean, some people are very aware of their tongues, aren't they? And they start getting really funny about that. Some people have a phobia about their own tongues. I don't.
Well, I was fine until now. Now I've come.
Now you're worried, aren't you? I put the thought into your head.
No kidding. Cotton wool for me, mate.
Actually, sorry, says
it's cotton wool for me.
Is it really?
Biting cotton wool. I've had to do that a few times.
Yeah, that's the dentist, is it? The dentist puts the cotton wool in. Yeah. Those pads and go, horrible.
See, I can cope with the pads. It's when they take the impressions and they put those things, that kind of gooey stuff on your teeth, and they press down. I start to gip, as they call it. Good one, Michael. We like that. Yeah, we're all of a similar ilk. Anything to do with the dentist and fingers in your mouth, not having any of that. Right, okay. Who is your celebrity crush, Michael?
Celebrity crush? I'm not sure I have one. Oh gosh, there must be somebody. I think it probably varies. What I tend to do, when I'm watching, there's a TV channel here called Talking Pictures TV, which I like a lot. I'm often watching old films, and you think, oh, she's beautiful. Who's that? So I get on my phone and I go to the full cast list for some film. I realise the film was made in 1939, and this woman is now 110, and you think, oh, she was really pretty. So I think you sort of odd crush on somebody in an old film, and then you realise she's now a nonagenarian or a centenarian or beyond. So that's always quite funny, because you think, oh gosh, she's beautiful. I thought Princess Grace Kelly was a very, very beautiful woman, but I didn't get the chance to ask her out, sadly.
Oh, like a lot of others, she was amazing, wasn't she? Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Like you, Terry, who's your celebrity crush?
I think it's Raquel Welch. I thought she was just stunning in every way, and still looks amazing. Yeah,
Well,
and you married your celebrity crush.
Well, you just saved me there, because I was just about to apologise for being schmaltzy and waiting for the dig in the ribs if I didn't mention her name. But I did. She was my superstar crush growing up, and I told a best friend of mine that I'm going to marry Linda Lusardi, and guess what?
I love it. What is the link? What is? I'll save you more embarrassment here. What is the link between English cricket and Raquel Welch?
I don't know.
No idea.
Freddie Truman, England's fast bowler, his daughter married Raquel Welch's son.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. Wow, she's
There's a bit of useless information for you.
Yeah.
Mike, you've got so much information that is absolutely pointless. Is that what you go for?
Yeah. Other prizes. I hope there are prizes.
This is a nuts question now. We like a little bit off the wall, a bit crazy. Okay, so you've been given an elephant, Mike, and you can't give it away and you cannot sell it. What are you going to do with it?
The elephant, what would I do with the elephant? I'd take it to a local farm and I'd say, well, let's put it in the field while we sit and think about it. I wouldn't parade it, because elephants belong in the wild. I'd check whether you could put it back in the wild. I'd probably take it to Longleat, because I think that's probably the fairest thing to do with an elephant. I'd do a selfie with it first, just to say I had an elephant, and I put it in the room just to say I had an elephant in the room, and then I take it to Longleat, because I think it's probably the fairest place for it. I think zoos, people have a bad opinion of zoos, but really they're often saving animals now these days. They give them a lot of space, saving animals that otherwise would have died out in the wild. So the old-fashioned zoos that come and look at the animal and poke him with a stick but don't feed him with a bun are probably gone, and now we've got a different sort of setup. So yeah, I'd take it to Longleat.
Good for you. What about you, Terence?
Well, I think I'm going to steal part of Mike's answer. I just put him in the room and never talk about him.
Oh, you've done that before. The elephant in the room. Beautiful. Terence, over to you, my friend.
Mike, we always love to find out about the careers. Now, as you can tell from the accent, I'm from Manchester originally, been in the States here since 2000, but spent most of the 1980s in the States. So my recollection of Radio 1, my vivid recollections are back in the early days of the 60s. And maybe early 70s. But I'd love to find out how it started for you. What was that breakthrough in your early days when you broke into what made you a radio legend?
Well, I was right after I left college. I wrote a musical, and I wrote my first book of poetry, and I wrote a lot of songs. So I always wanted to be a songwriter, write books, write poems, that sort of thing. And I played a lot of cricket, and I was a fast bowler. I got progressively slower. The first change, second change, noticed me skip where I'm loosening up on the boundary. No, you haven't noticed me, never mind. But a guy that was starting a radio station called Neil for French Blake, with two small Fs, called me up and he said, I want you to come and see me. I played in a couple of cricket matches and I'd done some commentary, and he said, I want you on my radio station. I said, well, it's not really what I do. He said, it is now. He said, I want you, and I got another new boy, Steve Wright. He said, I want you two on my radio station. I said, well, it's not really what I do, Neil. And I said, why do you want me? You've never heard me. And he said, 3 reasons. 1, you're mildly eccentric. 2, you're very English. And 3, you're a bloody good opening bowler. And I said, what's the third one got to do with it? He said, we're starting a cricket team and you're opening the bowling. And I said, but I already played for a team. He said, you play for me now. And that was it. He was very forceful. So I went on air. He'd never, ever, ever heard me go on air. So all these people that send tapes in and try for years, I feel so sorry for them, because this bloke just wheeled me and pushed me into a chair, put the microphone on and said, you're on, at the start of a new station. And then Steve Wright and myself did read and write together because of our names. It kind of worked, and we kind of worked together as well. And after a year, 15, 16 months, I got the gig out of 2,000 people to go to Radio Luxembourg, and in less than a year, I got the gig to go to Radio 1. So I was very lucky in being at the front of the queue when the door opened. You know, you could have been number 2, number 3 and telling a story, if only. I was nearly there, you know. I was behind the bloke that was at the door, and it was nearly me, but I was lucky. I was there when the door opened.
And when was that? When was Luxembourg to Radio 1? What year was that?
Oh, sorry.
What year was that? From Luxembourg to Radio 1?
I did my first program on Radio 1 at the beginning of '78, and then I did the evening program before John Peel, where we both looked at new bands and did sessions, and sometimes I went in and played for the bands, which was great, because I was doing quite a lot of live gigs at the time, quite a lot of songwriting as well. Then, towards the end of 1980, they had a week away. We did these weeks away on the road, different places, to promote Radio 1. And David Lee Travis was ill. And they said, look, could you come up quickly? Could you come up, you know, now and do the breakfast show tomorrow morning? So I drove straight up. I said to John Peel, I've got to go up and do the breakfast show. He said, well, good luck, mate. You know, if it goes well, you know. I drove into St. John's Wood, drove in some unlit roadworks, wrecked the car, phoned the studio, and John said, oh, come back here. And he said, don't get a taxi, I'll take you up there. So Peely drove me up to Birmingham. We got to the hotel. Roy Wood was the only one up. So Woody and John and myself stayed up all night having a drink. And I went straight in and do the breakfast show, did 3 breakfast shows. And after that, I was sort of given the nod that I was probably going to get it in January '81, which I did.
Wow.
You guys were rock stars, weren't you? I mean, you know, you met everybody, you know, doing Top of the Pops and all that. So all of these superstars that we watched growing up, all the big bands and all the rock stars, you guys were right up there with them. What was it like going through those days? Because it's different now, so different.
Yeah, I think you just sort of took it for granted because it was what you were doing. You know, when Duran landed in a helicopter, Top of the Pops, you know, you got torn apart with the girls or with Spandau or something the same way. When you did a road show, we had 20, 30,000 people there. And you got back to the hotel, you were bruised, you were scratched, and all the rest of it. But it was like an ASBO. It was sort of a badge of honor. See how much I was scratched by the girls. And, you know, it was hilarious because I remember at one road show I did with Peter Powell, and Peter said, you know, the girls pulled me over the barrier about 14 times. I said, yeah, I think I was about 15 times. It was real Blackadder stuff. He said, yeah, come to think of it, mine might have been about 16 times, you know. He said, who did you wound in the battle? Oh, you know, 200 peasants, you know, the Earl of Warwick. It was one of those. Extraordinary, but great fun, great fun.
No, that's amazing stuff. You just mentioned there one of my musical idols, Roy Wood. I think the guy is an absolute genius. Just amazing.
Yeah. He's a great songwriter. We do have some great songwriters. One of the things I do on the radio is reflect that in the thing called I Write the Songs. Since being a kid, I was always big on songwriters. I always looked for the name. I thought, oh, it's them again. I didn't know who they were. I thought, it's them again. You know, I like their last song. So I almost didn't look for the artist. I looked for the songwriter, rather unusually. And, of course, latterly, got to write with some of these guys, which is so wonderful. I've just been writing a song with a guy called Phil Springer. We just finished it. Phil had his first hit. He wrote his first hit in 1949. For the Beverly Sisters. He wrote Santa Baby for Kit and Kylie. He wrote The Next Time for Cliff. Big songwriter. He was the last composer to work with Yip Harburg, who wrote the words for Wizard of Oz. So there's a terrific legacy here. He's the oldest surviving building writer. And we've just written a song together, and you think, it's great to write a song with this guy who wrote with the guy who wrote The Wizard of Oz. You know, this is terrific stuff. So it's great writing and working with some of these people who, you know, you admired their songs. And the same for me as a songwriter. You know, when you look through the window in the studio and you think, I can't believe you're singing my song. I bought your records when I was a kid, and now you're singing my song. I think there are three peaks to a song. One is writing it, where you think, I think I've written something good. The second one is if an artist says, I like it, I will do it. They like it that much, they will do it. And the third, the bonus, is if it's a hit.
Absolutely.
How many hits you had, Mike?
We've had a few. I've had some really good covers. People like Gene Pitney, Don McLean, Cliff, David Essex, Leo Sayer, lots of pop artists. But also, I've done quite a few things for the Eton College Choir, the King's College Choir. I cover my stuff as well. The Majesty's Band of the Royal Marines, various choirs. So it's not just pop music, and of course the stage musicals as well. And that gives you a much broader palette. I mean, a pop song, you're sort of aiming for the charts-ish or somebody to cover it. But with a musical, it's such a broad palette. I mean, when we did A Christmas Carol, I wrote a song because all the washerwomen and cleaners were dividing up Scrooge's stuff. They go, oh, I'll have that, I'll have that. They're all nicking his stuff. And I wrote this song called, one woman said, well, he don't need his sheets, do he? He said, not where he is going, he don't need them, no. So I wrote this song called What's the Good of Sheets in Hell? Now, you'd never write a song like that and try and get to #1, would you? But for a musical, you can. It's great.
Oh, it's fantastic, Mike. Listen, getting back to so many different people you've worked with, and I don't know if you kind of recognize it at the time when you're mumbling and rubbing shoulders with these guys, but when you've got the likes of Queen, David Bowie, the list is endless, all the 70s, all the 80s bands, you're rubbing along with them. Were you ever starstruck by anyone you've met?
I think you sort of take it in your stride because it's what you've got to do. I think, to be honest, I appreciate them, and I think, wow, these guys are great writers, so they're great performers. But if you're doing an interview, you can't be too much like that because you're trying to get the best out of them. They don't want fan interviewing them. That said, I think you've got to know something about them. I think people appreciate it when you're interviewing them if you know about them. Americans particularly, they're looking for your notes. I've done, live TV hours with people, and they go, what's this guy's notes? He knows a lot. And they're looking around, or they're looking for the auto cue, and there is no auto cue. And they go, hey, how come you know everything? I said, well, that's my job. If I don't know it, I make sure I do know it. Mostly I do, but if I don't, I will check it out because it's only courtesy to somebody you're interviewing, really, to know about them, know what they've done, to go on and go, so, what are you up to then these days? It's a bit lazy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, you feel privileged, but it's interesting, when we did Saturday Superstar on Saturday mornings, you'd be sitting there as we say, Elton's here. Oh, okay. When's he coming on? About 10 minutes. Okay, fine. And then Police and Sting. Oh, okay. They're on after him. Okay, fine. So you have to sort of take it in your stride. I think, to be honest, to answer your question, I think you only appreciate it when the tide goes out because at the time you're just doing it. At the time, if you're stranded in a rowing boat with 12 other people crossing the Atlantic, you're thinking about survival, and it's only when it's all over do you think about the reality of it.
That's a great analogy. When you're writing songs, the lyrics and music comes first, Mike.
Oh, either or. I mean, I've written a lot of lyrics for tunes that are already there. With my 2 John Betjeman albums, the words were already there, and I wrote the melodies.
Right.
With the Dead Poets Society album, I've done the words are already there. Byron, Keats, Shelley, Shakespeare, Auden, Rupert Brooke, they're already there, so I wrote the melodies. Other times I turn Lorenz Halter, Oscar Hammerstein, and I write the words. I'm happy with either. I think sometimes it helps. If you're au fait with composition and structure and music, it helps with your words, it helps with your scansion, and it helps knowing which words sing well at a high note. To just write words is fine, but you've got to know, well, actually, that word I know doesn't sing well in a higher register. This word does. It's got warmth and it will sing well. Or I want something that starts with a consonant here, not a vowel, because it's got to hit in, it's got to punch in. So things like that I think you're aware of when you're writing.
That's great. The skill of songwriting. Sam, you write as well as I write. I don't write very well, but you've written songs too. What is it for you when you write in? Because I know that the one that Lucy did with Bob, but that song is a fantastic song. And what came first there?
It was just a hook. It came straight into my head. Just sat in the garden one day, and I just, I thought, what is it that kids love? and then immediately went to Disney, and that Make a Wish, and that became the title, and then I put a tune to it, and all of a sudden the chorus happened very quickly. So it was the music and the lyrics straight away for me.
But maybe the lyric prompted the melody, because if you came with Make a Wish first, and you go, what's going to go da da da? Because there's some people that literally write the whole melody, the structure, verse, chorus, bridge, and so on, and then come back.
That happens sometimes. That happens sometimes. What they call the 20-minuters. I did one of those where I just thought, where's that come from? Bang, out of the blue, 20 minutes, finished song, and it became a number 4 hit. And I thought, wow. I remember writing on the dining room table. I've been watching more, got fed up with it, went down, sat down, 20 minutes, finished the song. Other times, I think one good starting point is the title. You get a really good title. I used to chat with Robin Gibb about this a lot, and when the Bee Gees were stuck, they'd turn to Ernest Hemingway. Well, let's look at, For Whom the Bell Tolls, we'll have that million seller. Islands in the Stream, we'll have that million seller. And I thought, I didn't tell Robin. I went away and I looked along the Hemingway books, and I thought, The Sun Also Rises. What a great title. Couldn't make it work. I couldn't make something end with, and the sun also rises. Just didn't work.
Wow.
That's because you're not a Bee Gee. Simple as that. It's not a Bee Gee.
Yeah.
This is a little nepotistic, but not for that reason. My son's a songwriter, and his lyrics, for me, they're stunning. And he wrote a song when all this stuff started happening a few months ago called What Is Earth Without Art? And one of the verses he wrote, the lyric went, what if this virus had affected Mr. Lennon? Imagine if imagine never was. Then there's another line that says, and then the follow line is, we never would have listened just because. And when he wrote, I've got goosebumps now. When he wrote it, I'm going, well, shit, where did that come from? Because your mum don't write like that, and I don't write like that. But he comes out with this stuff, and it's, I just really appreciate. I love the melodies, I love the music, but I really appreciate people that are able to put simple emotions into great lyric. People like Jimmy Webb and Sammy Kahn. Just really.
Oh yeah, they're great writers. Maybe it's time to question your son's parentage, by the way. The great. I mean, I love. In terms of lyricists, I love Lorenz Hart and Oscar Hammerstein. But Lorenz Hart had those wonderful internal rhymes that Gerard Manley Hopkins, the Welsh Jesuit priest, had as well. I caught this morning, morning's minion, kingdom of daylight, stove and dapple drawn. All the alliteration, it just rolled. And Lorenz Hart did stuff like that where, and I've always loved that, where you'd have rhymes in the middle. We'll take Manhattan to Bronx and Staten Island too.
Yes.
It wouldn't be at the end of the line. I thought that's so clever. And I love doing that when I can. Just using Gerard Manley Hopkins, Lorenz Hart as a bit of a blueprint. But they're great, and Hammerstein's lyrics are fantastic. I mean, really, things like Edelweiss that he wrote. He said so many people said, "Oh yeah, that old song. We used to sing that at school." And it wasn't. It was a new song. He'd written it for The Sound of Music. But it sounded so traditional that people thought it was traditional. And imagine they'd sung it when they were kids, when they hadn't. Now that's got to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, we can go down so many. I'm going to play 30 seconds and take the opportunity to play 30 seconds here of Earth Without Heart. Check this out.
Because to take away the arts would be to take away our purpose. For some of us, it's why we're still
Great stuff.
I think that's John Lennon's lost son.
You might be right.
I've got to say, I love the fall of the notes. It's really, really good. I like that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
No, it's great watching him put it together, and yeah, I mean, obviously I'm biased and stuff, but it's lyricists just really get to me, and so many different types. I think one of the most complex and yet understandable lyricist is Sondheim. Some of his stuff is amazing. Things like Putting It Together. You know that song? Bit by bit, putting it together is just an incredible lyric.
Well, he was, of course, I mean, as a young kid, he was under Oscar Hammerstein's wing. I mean, he went to see State of the House, and he worshipped. He was an acolyte of Oscar Hammerstein.
I didn't know that.
And he learned at Hammerstein's knee, basically, sometime.
Oh, I had no idea. That's great. God, we could stay 4 hours talking about songwriters here.
Well, Terry, that's why it's great talking to Mike, because you learn so much with every meeting. It's brilliant.
No kidding. Well, Mike, there's a bit we do on the show where we put you on the spot. I'm just going to give you two things, and you've got no time to think about it. You've got to give me what you prefer. For example, dog or cat?
Dog.
Netflix or YouTube?
Who?
Netflix or YouTube?
YouTube.
Okay, so here are the real ones. Manchester United or Liverpool?
Bury. I have to say that because they booted us out of the league and we're incensed. We're going to come back. And United used to play on the ground. Their reserves used to play on the ground with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer managing them. But I think they've now gone to Northwich Victoria. But we'll be back in the league. We're only 7 miles away from Manchester United. I went to a match there once where it was the Carling Cup. They beat us 2-0, but they didn't even field their first team. When I saw Peter Schmeichel and co sitting in the stands, I thought, they're not even on the bench, these guys. So they're not even trying. And suddenly I realised that Bury, we've only got 3,000 fans. There are 10,000 fans cheering from this end of the stadium. And it's all the Manchester City fans that have come down to cheer for Bury. And they got me on the pitch to do the half times. Norman Whiteside did all the show around there, and they got me on the pitch. Said, "Will you do the half times?" I said, "Yeah." Pouring with rain. This was before the Wally with a Brolly, hammering down in a brand new suit. And they said, "We'll get you an umbrella." I said, "I don't think so. I don't think I'm going out there under an umbrella." I said, "And we'll start with the Arsenal score. They're losing 1-0. I said, "I'll get soaking wet. We'll start with Arsenal, but that'll be fine."
That's
great.
You
know what's brilliant? I don't know where you are, Mike, but there's a woman who's walking around like she's got terrible posture.
That's David Hamilton's wife.
Mrs. Hamilton. Either she's got lumbago or she's trying to stay out of shot.
I think when people see anything like this, they duck, don't they? Everybody ducks. It's pointless.
Funny.
It actually make more of a point of being seen. What's the next one, Terry?
All right, here's the next one. Bucks Fizz or Brotherhood of Man?
Oh, Bucks Fizz.
Sausage rolls or Cornish pasties?
Oh, both good. That's a tough one. I go for a Cornish pasty.
From London to Manchester, train or drive?
Oh, train.
Rain or hail?
Rain.
Fish and chips or beans on toast?
Oh, again, a really tough one. Depends where I am. Inland beans on toast, seaside fish and chips.
I love it. Cliff Richard or Adam Faith?
Oh, both good. Both good. Cliff had more hits. And if Cliff's watching, I'm going to say Cliff. But Adam Faith had great light tenor voice. But Cliff, we'll go with Cliff.
Yeah. Alan Price or Georgie Fame?
Both good writers. I've seen Georgie more than Alan. I'm going to go with Georgie. I see Alan occasionally in Barnes. He's a man of very few words. Really? And the last time I saw him, I just watched that Don't Look Back thing with Bob Dylan. And in it, Alan Price is with Bob Dylan. And Bob says, "So what about this guy Donovan then? What about Donovan?" And Alan Price said, "He's better than you, and that's for sure." You know, to Dylan, he's better than you, and that's for sure. I was sitting outside Cafe de Lys in Barnes, which you probably know, with a friend, and Alan walked past, and we said, "Hello, Alan." I said, "Hello, boys." And I said, he's better than you, and that's for sure. He said, you've been watching Don't Look Back, and he didn't break stride or break a beat or even look back. He just carried on walking. You've been watching Don't Look Back. He's better than you, and that's for sure. Georgie fame.
Yeah, I love Georgie. I think he's amazing. Beatles.
He does a great show now with his two sons. I saw him last year, and he performs with his two sons, and they're fantastic. He can be a bit chippy on stage. If someone unwraps the toffee or makes a noise or speaks, he'll give them a good old glare.
Will he?
He really will. And he had Colin Green got up and played with him, who played with him many, many, many years, right back in the early days, the Blue Flames days. He came out of the audience and played with him, which is wonderful. Absolutely fantastic.
I bet it was. Beatles or Stones?
Both.
Both. Greg's or Costa Coffee?
I don't drink coffee. I'm a pot of tea man.
Okay, so Greg's. That's it. Have you got any, Sam?
No, actually, no. Most of mine were put in with yours.
Yeah.
Okay, DLT or Pat Sharp?
DLT.
Good lad. Good lad. Although we know both of them. What about the days on TV? How did you compare the two? Was it similar? Was it different? Was it better? Was it worse? TV or radio?
Radio or TV, you say?
Yeah, both.
I mean, radio is more individual. I mean, it's you. You're making the decisions. I do the breakfast show every morning. I'm deciding, I want to play that. I'll move that around. I'll move that around. You're not affecting anybody else except the audience. So you're juggling and moving as you go. TV, very, very different because you're the tip of the iceberg. Once people say, I love your TV program, you have to say, well, I'm only part of it. I'm only steering the ship. There are loads of other people. There are 20 other people on the show. You're part of the team. It just happens you're the front bit of the team doing that bit, the bit that people see. So they're two very different disciplines, I think. Some people, as you know, Sam, don't transfer from radio to TV, and other people don't transfer well to radio. You know, often on some radio stations, they think, oh, we'll have a celebrity on. And it doesn't make them a good broadcaster being a celebrity. And it doesn't make a good radio broadcaster good for TV. So they are different disciplines.
It's a real skill, isn't it, Mike? The whole presenting thing is massive. It really is. It's such a great... When you've gone through all of that training yourself and you put yourself through it, like you say, it wasn't what you did, but immediately you became one of the most famous household names in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was talking the other day with Doreen Davies, who was our head of music, and she said, you know, when we took you on, it wasn't for your knowledge of music, it was the fact that you'd be an ambassador for the BBC as well. That you could go somewhere, you could host something with Princess Diana. You could do. I mean, I did the BBC Diamond Jubilee at St Paul's. Richard Baker and myself were chosen as the sort of senior and junior people to read. We walked up the aisle behind Robert Runcie, the Archbishop of Canterbury. It was being broadcast around the world. So you're in like London, the big city, St Paul's, the centre of that, Archbishop of Canterbury, the Queen and Prince Philip, and all the famous faces from the BBC are there, and it's being broadcast around the world. And you think, how big can this be? This is the most extraordinary thing. I mean, quite nerve-wracking. I was so relieved to get to my seat 2 feet in front of the Queen that I sat down. And it was only when I felt this pair of eyes looking at me, I thought, oh, God, it's like my mother. Oh, no, I'm sitting down, and everybody, including the Queen, is standing up. So if I'd had presence of mind, I'd look down quick. I prayed and then stuff. I didn't think about it. So I just stood up as slowly as I could. I was too embarrassed to even go red. But she did give me a very, very beady eye, you know, but I got through it.
Well, can I ask one more question, Terry?
All yours, mate. All yours.
There's something very pressing I want to know. It could be quite contentious, this, Mike, but when you compare, it's almost like the music industry. Those years are never going to be replicated as far as I'm concerned. And I think it's pretty much the same for the radio. How do you see it compared to when you guys were doing it back in the day?
How do I see what? How do I see?
The radio. How do you compare the radio for today to when you guys were doing it?
It's difficult because it was newer, music was newer. I mean, you know, the rock and roll thing started in the 60s, 70s, 80s. It was still new. It was still a must-see. I mean, Top of the Pops got 15, 16, 17 million people. We got 10 million on Saturday morning, 10 million on Saturday evening for Pop Quiz. So it was still exciting for young people. And, you know, almost a third of the country had watched Top of the Pops. Now there's so much more, so it's difficult to compare. It's like comparing, a pre-war football team with a football team from the 2000s. Probably now or tennis, there's more athleticism now. People are fitter, people are sharper. When you look at Wimbledon, they're faster, they're sharper. Before they use guile, and same in football, I think, and probably the same in broadcasting. Now people are punchier, they're sharper, they're on the ball, they're told what to do. You play as a team or you're out. There's less room. I think one of the key things, I'm just sort of thinking while I'm winging it really, one of the key things is less individualism now.
Yeah.
You were allowed a lot of individualism before, which brought people on, whether they be actor, be singer, be broadcaster, but now there's less individualism. This is the money, this is what we're paying you for, this is what we want you to do. You take the money, we get someone else.
And you've got to be brilliant straight out of the traps, haven't you? Nowadays, You've got to be a million seller. Back in the day, the Beatles wouldn't exist today. The Stones wouldn't exist. Elton John wouldn't exist. They were allowed to play their trade and become brilliant, as opposed to just go out and sell 1 million or you're gone.
And record labels as well believed in an artist. They go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8 singles. We said, we believe in you and we're going to break you and we're going to market you. No, they don't want to market you at all. If you're being on a TV series, they might take you. They want you pre-marketed with PR, with management, with everything. You can go in and be the biggest talent in the world, and they just say, well, what do you want us to do with you? What are we going to do with you? It's very difficult now. It's very, very difficult for new artists, new writers. If you don't make it straight away, that's it.
I think the world. I think the world of on demand too has taken a lot of the excitement out of music. I remember distinctly telling Nick about. Remembering when I was in high school, so probably 74, 75, 73, that period, on a Tuesday, I think it was, in lunch break, you'd have your little transistor radio and just listening to Radio 1 to see if Slade got number 1. And, you'd run around the playground like a lunatic. Because I remember Squeeze Me, Please Me, I think it was, went straight to number 1. Just after Come On, Feel a Noise. And just dead excited. And that excitement, I think, with all the on-demand, it's kind of...
It was important then. I think it was important to kids then.
Yeah.
It meant something. And they'd say, do you see who's gone into the top 10? And it was important. And you'd rush down to the record shop because you couldn't get music any other way. Unless you went and paid your money to the shopkeeper who said, sorry, it's not in yet. Can we get you something else? And you go, no. Well, can I order it for you? No, I want it now, really. I don't want you to order it for me. I want it right now, please. And that's how it was. I mean, and you didn't hear it enough to get tired of it. Now, if a new record comes out, you hear it so much that you don't need to buy it, basically. But then there were probably fewer shows and you heard it fewer times, so you needed to buy it.
Absolutely.
There was a whole thing I remember McCartney saying, Mike, about when he was a kid and he'd go down to the record shop and he said the journey home, because it was an event to go and buy a record, wasn't it? And he'd go out and he'd buy his album and he'd read it from cover to cover, inside and out, read all the lyrics, take the sleeve out, smell the vinyl. He said there was a whole thing. He said, and that was kind of what led him to the creation of all the great album covers that the Beatles did.
And also, of course, you didn't have any product unless someone believed in you. I mean, now you can make your own CD. Here's my own CD. What's the label? Oh, it's my own label. It doesn't matter now. But then you couldn't have a piece of vinyl in your hand unless somebody believed in you, unless a label signed you. You just couldn't do it. You couldn't make your own vinyl. Remember my first single? It was printed by a company. They pressed it up in Upminster, right at the end of the tube line. Orlake, they were called, I think. And I got up to town, went on the tube right out to Upminster, and the guy in the white coat said, sorry, son, he said, they won't be ready for a couple of hours. I'll wait, I said. I happily sat there for 2 hours, excited, took them back on the tube, 6 in a box. And they're all the same, but I looked at each one, and the B-side, and the group, and as you did, smelt them, looked at them, read them again, all exactly the same. But I was so excited. Now I think they fetch £140 each. I had boxes of them I gave away to people who didn't want them, and I now wish I kept them.
Oh my God, you could have been rich from that first single. What a bestseller that would be.
No kidding. Sam, what was the first record you bought?
Oh, you're going to hate me for this. You're going to hate me.
Go on.
Oh, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And there's a little story after it as well. The first song, I really don't want to tell you this. The first single I ever bought was Remember You're a Womble by the Wombles.
It's all right. Good song. Good song.
Yeah, well, Mike.
And here's the thing. So years later, when Channel 5 in the UK first came to life, one of their first shows was a karaoke show that Suggs, the lead singer from Madness, hosted, and it was called Night Fever. It was a karaoke show, get you in the mood for going out, and they'd have 5 female celebs on one side, 5 male celebs on the other side. I was the team captain of the male celebs, and it was a great show. We'd get up and sing, and it was a very pop culture type show. And we had all kinds of artists on there, right through the 70s, the 80s. Who was on there? There was Shalimar was on there, Curiosity Killer Cat, anyone that was prevalent at that time. And I said hello because I was big fans of most of them. The ones I got most excited by were the Wombles. The only ones I got a photograph with.
5-10 minutes.
Love it. Because the lead guitarist of the Wombles, Robin LeMessurier, was the son of John LeMessurier and Hattie Jakes.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah,
And Mike Batt is a brilliant songwriter.
He is. He's written some very good songs. And what I like about Mike, he puts his money where his mouth is. The Hunting of the Snark, I thought, was brilliant. His song Railway Hotel was never a hit, but just a fabulous, fabulous song.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great writer. I like Mike very much. Super.
Brilliant. Mike, what was the first record you bought?
First album I remember buying, I was given a lot of singles by our cook's son. I remember he gave me a pile of singles. The first album I remember buying was in Maxwell's in Woking, which was with the Beatles. But I thought it was magical. It was absolutely magical. I thought, wow, this is, how do you do that? How do you write these things? Where does it come from? It must be magic. It's wonderful, really. I loved it.
Absolutely. Well, mine was I bought 2 singles on the same day. It was Waterloo and Seven Seas of Rye.
One of them was good.
2 completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different singles. But this has been a brilliant show. We've got a couple of things that, for anyone watching this, as soon as this show's over, we'll be going over to our trivia competition where you can win tons of good prizes. And all the trivia today is about Top of the Pops and Radio 1. So check that out. Just scan that QR code or put that in your smartphone or your tablet, and we'll be going straight to that following the show. So, Mike, on this show, we have a few things we do all the time. One of the questions we ask everybody is this: if you could spend 60 minutes, the next 60 minutes, with any 2 people, dead or alive, it could be family members or historical figures or anyone at all, anywhere in the world, who would you like to spend the next hour with? Where are you going to go? And what are you going to talk about?
I suppose Jesus would have to be one, because he could probably answer more questions than most people you'd want to talk to.
Yeah.
So that will be one. Where we go, I have no idea. A Last Supper somewhere, maybe. It wouldn't really matter where you went. I would sit in some beautiful meadow somewhere. I don't know. The other one, it's very difficult, isn't it? There are so many interesting people. I mean, there are so many. I don't know. There's so many great songwriters I'd like to go back. We talked about Oscar Hammerstein, Lorenz Hart, Irving Berlin, Richard Rodgers, all these people. It'd be great to spend an hour with them and say, look, do you think we could knock something off in 60 minutes? That would be really good. Do you think we could come up with a real cracker in 60 minutes? Stephen Foster, the first professional songwriter, you said, come on, see, we could get something going in 60 minutes, surely. Oh, no, not Stephen Foster, because we wouldn't have been able to record it. So post-1900, certainly. But, yeah, I think that would be good. I'd quite like to spend an hour with Jeeves, actually, with Jeeves and Worcester, because he's an interesting character, although not real, of course. Any great writer, really. I mean, there are so many. But there are 2 of my instant answers. I could probably think forever. It's like asking someone their top 10 songs. The top 1,000's easier.
It's a different answer every time, that question. I love that musical theatre writers. It's like the Travelling Wilburys version of musical theatre, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mike, thanks so much for being on the show. This has been tremendous today. I've learned a lot. It's been great for me. I've been reminiscing all about going back to the 70s and my music scene back in England. So many great memories. It's been tremendous. And thanks, Sam, for setting this up and being part of the show. I thought that was a virtual background you had behind you.
No, this is my studio at the bottom of my garden. And that big face over there, that's my daughter. This is a photographic section just over there to my right. And
I thought you were in a hair salon, to be honest.
Lucy, that's Lucy when she was about 15. She looks a little older, but Linda took that photograph. Linda's a great photographer.
Yeah, she's brilliant. Thanks so much, Mike. This has been tremendous. Thanks for your time, and we've learned a lot.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. It's been great.
It's been great. Cheers, Sam. Thanks, everybody. Join us for trivia immediately following the show.